Lori here. I'm back to start another reading vlog for you all. So it is Thursday. I don't normally start my reading vlogs on Thursday, but there is a readathon this weekend for Book Roast's reading challenge, and I wanted to participate, and I'm also keeping an ear out if the Avengers drops their boss battle this weekend because it's getting towards the end of the month and we normally have a boss battle every single month. So I'm waiting to see if they're going to announce that as well. But if we don't have an Avengers reading boss battle this weekend as well, then I'm just going to focus on this readathon. It's going to be a 24-hour reading vlog. I'm just starting it a little, like a weekend reading vlog. I'm just starting it a little bit early because I have to get to work tomorrow and I will have a lot of time on the train. So my two books I would love to tackle this weekend is Dark and Shallow Star by Ashley Shuttleworth. This is a fae book, and one of the prompts I need to read is a fae or elven book. So I've heard really good things about this one, and it says choose your players: a half fae outcast desperate for acceptance, a tempestuous fury hellbent on revenge, a dutiful prince determined to earn his peace, and a brooding guardian burdened by a terrible secret. And they have to form an alliance to help solve murders. And this is definitely the longest book on my TBR, or my weekend TBR, so I wanted to give it a head start. And it does have asexual rep, and I've never really read a book like that before. So I'm really excited to start this one, hopefully before I head to yoga. And then the next book, which has to do with elemental magic, is going to be Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin. So these are going to be the first two books I'm going to hopefully tackle this weekend. And if I have a little bit of time, I might read Hood by Jenner Eldon Moak, and this is like a Robin Hood retelling, and I really struggled with my book that was supposed to be for the outside prompt. So if I get done with these, I might just tack this one on and replace that prompt because it wasn't my favorite read. But I am gonna go start A Dark and Shallow Star, Hollow Star, and if I make any substantial progress, I'll give you guys an update. But I'm very excited. I will talk to you guys probably when I come back from yoga, unless I can read 50 pages before I go to yoga. So, talk to you guys in a little bit. Bye, friends. I'm back. Always on Friday, I always have grand plans to do so many things, but I'm going to try this weekend to just relax. So, to do that, I have to get my stuff done. So, I just want to come in and say that I did wind up reading actually a little bit. I wound up listening to about an hour of my audiobook, which I really hope to finish this weekend if the weather cooperates. I'm going to go for a couple of walks and do a couple of bike rides. But I also did wind up getting up to page 44 in A Dark and Hollow Star by Ashley Shuttleworth. This is a really interesting book. It has a bunch of different point of view characters. It's set in a fairy world, and I really like multiple perspective books because you get a lot of information about the world right off the bat. So you meet a half fae outcast who is half fae, so she's kind of given the choice between, no one in the governing body thinks that she will make a good fae because she doesn't have a lot of magic. So that's kind of her path. And then you meet a fury who was basically banished 100 years ago, and she's basically believed to be behind all of these murders that happen, and they're killing Ironbloods, which is humans in this world, I think. And then you have a dutiful prince that wants to be very invested in the murders, and then you have his brooding guardian. And they are all just so fascinating. I could just literally read this book all day because I love it so much. It's such a rich world, and I'm really, really enjoying it quite a bit. I've only read about 44 pages, but my goal for today is just to make sure that all of my work is done so I also have a readathon this weekend. I have to do a boss battle assignment as well for the Avengers reading challenge. So that is my major goal. I am going to work tonight on making sure everything's done. I want to pre-film a video, and I want to get my blog ready for the end of the month. So next weekend I can do some pre-filming as well, because normally in October I film a lot of videos. So I have to find a date, a weekend to do that. So I'm going to go get myself ready, buy everything I need to buy, and organize myself. And when I'm ready to sit down and read, I will check in with you guys. Bye. Bye, friends. Here I'm back. I just woke up. It was a nice rest. Always the first week of school is a little bit rough, but I did wind up doing all my errands yesterday, which was the major goal. So I get to read for 24 hours pretty much. I am going to do a little things. I'm going to go to yoga and like go run a couple of little errands. But for the most part, I am going to read like a mad woman this weekend. So I read about 43 pages in A Dark and Hollow Star yesterday. I still really enjoyed it. There's a lot of characters, so I still feel like I need a little bit more time to really feel connected to them. So I am going to go and read a little bit more. Sorry, my parents are being incredibly loud, but I'm going to go read a little bit more. And when I feel like I can talk to you guys a little bit more about it, because there are a bunch of characters, I will give you guys an update. But so far, really excited to start the readathon, and I'll take you guys along with me. Bye, friends. Lori here. I just want to say that I did wind up reading the first 80 pages in A Dark and Hollow Star by Ashley Shuttleworth. I also did wind up doing my boss battle for the Avengers Reading Challenge. I made something inspired by a book with food. I am intrigued enough to keep reading this book. Like, I'm very interested. It's just massive, so it takes a lot to like develop the world, but I really do like all the characters. I'm reading a scene right now that really reminds me of the Mortal Instruments, which I'm really intrigued by right off the bat. So yeah, I'm going to keep reading, and I will update you guys when I read probably like to page like 100 or 150, just to kind of give you guys my thoughts. My goal is to finish a majority of this book today. It's a gorgeous day. I'm probably going to spend most of the day reading outside. I'm going to go for a bike ride later, try to finish my audiobook, and I'll talk to you guys in a little bit. Bye, friends. I end up getting up to page about 100 in A Dark and Hollow Star. I really am liking this book, like off the bat. Again, it reminds me a lot of the Mortal Instruments. There's a lot of different characters. I also think that there's like one point of view that's really in the future, which I will need to like read that point of view again. But it's just so fascinating. Like, there's a murder, there's different characters. It's set in Canada. I haven't read a book that's set, I don't think I've ever read a book that's set in Canada. So I like that. I like the urban fantasy. I don't really read a whole lot of urban fantasy, but the Mortal Instrument Worlds is definitely like one of my favorite series of all time. So I'm really liking it's been a bit since I've read any Fae books. Like, the last book I read that had to do with the Fae that I really like was the Cruel Prince series. I tried to read a couple other books in the past, and they did not land with me. But I like all the characters like quite a bit. It's very, very fun. I'll say that. Like, but again, it's a massive book, so like I feel like as we get through this book, I will learn more, because you get a chapter with every character, so it's like it takes a couple times to see them again and again and again. I really do like Arlo as a character. I think she's very, very interesting because she's like the half-Fae outcast. She really wants acceptance. You have a Fury who's kind of ostracized. You have a Prince who we haven't gotten a whole lot of point of views, and then we have a Guardian, which we got one point of view from, and I really liked him as well. So I'm going to go back to reading, and I'll try to update you guys before I head for my bike ride. Bye, friends. Do another quick update. I did wind up getting up to page 100. Oh, 155. Sorry, I got up to page 155 in A Dark and Hollow Star. This book is getting very interesting. Like, there's a lot of characters in this story, so you really just have to sort of remember, like, all the characters that you're dealing with. But I really like the world. I like that it's set in Canada. I like that it's an urban fantasy. I said this in a previous clip. I don't read a lot of urban fantasy, but I love all the characters. It's also like a lot of the characters are just really different than I've ever really read before. There's a lot of potential LGBTQ plus characters in the story, which I really enjoy. I doubt that will come out in this book. I think it will probably come out in subsequent books in the series. But I'm also really intrigued to find out the murder elements. There's like a murder that all these people are trying to solve, and eventually they're going to sort of be forced to work together, which I love when characters are forced to work together when they don't necessarily like each other. That's like one of my favorite tropes. So I'm really enjoying this. I read about 155 pages. Such a great read so far. I'm also listening to some live streams and such just as background noise, but I'm also very far into my How Not to Seduce a Scot by Maya, or How Not to Seduce by Maya Banks, I think. I have like 30 minutes of that left because I'm listening on double speed. But again, very, very strong read. That probably won't count for this reading vlog because it doesn't, like, there's no prompt that it works with. But I'm really liking it. So yeah, I'm going to go read up into page 200, and then I'll give you guys another update. It's been so long since I read a book this long, so I'm really excited to, like, dive into another world. And this is, like, the perfect time because they talk all about nature, and we're right at the tail end of summer. So I'm going to go read this, and I'll give you guys more thoughts as I keep reading. Bye, friends. friends, I'm back. I just want to say that I did wind up finishing, oh, I don't remember the name of it. Never Seduce a Scot, which is by Maya Banks. It was for the Avengers Reading Challenge to read a book that has a deaf main character. Very, very interesting. I really, really like listening to those because they're really, really quick listens. I also did wind up getting up to page 200 in A Dark and Hollow Star. Again, this book is getting really interesting, and all the perspectives are starting to like come together a little bit more, which like there's one character that I would love a point of view from, but we don't have it yet, and that is Arlo's cousin. I think that he's a very, very interesting character. But yeah, I'm really excited to keep reading. I'm also participating in the 24-hour reading that I thought it was 48 hours, but I think it was 24 hours, but I'm probably going to read all day tomorrow anyway, so I'm going to go try to read a little bit more of this. My goal is to get up to page 250, and then I'll give you guys a quick update, but so far I'm really liking it. I'm going to like this book a little bit more when all the characters are sort of intertwined together, but we're getting there, so they're all like in different in locations at the moment, so when they all are in one location, I think they'll probably tie in together a little bit more, but I'm going to go back to reading, and I'll talk to you guys in a little bit. Bye, friends. I'm back. I was actually sat outside for like most of the evening because it was such a pretty day, so I didn't really have any opportunities to update, but I did wind up getting up to page 260 in A Dark and Hollow Star. This book is getting to be really interesting. Like, I think all the point of views are sort of diverging, which was the point I was sort of waiting for. There's a lot happening in this story, like a lot, and I think that eventually this will be a book that I want to go back and read because there's a lot of side characters that we're getting. It's a really, really fun read. My goal is definitely going to finish most of this tomorrow, but I did read, let's see, I think I read about 200 pages today. So if I can push through and read another 200 pages tomorrow, I will be in really good shape to finish this by early Monday. But I really am liking this one quite a bit. I also got approved for a blog tour for the Fowl Twins series, and I've not read any of those books. I didn't think I was going to get approved for it. So my goal for tomorrow is to like start listening to them because I have to listen to 2 books, and they're not that long. So I have to like get a move on. So it's probably tomorrow I'm going to start reading the Fowl Twins book 1 in that series and see how far I get. They're not that long, so I think my audiobook this month, that plan is going to be like a little bit divergent. But the good news is for Fowl Twins, I can definitely use this for one of my prompts for the TBR and Beyond reading group, and also for the Avengers Reading Challenge. I'm actually going to go update my board because I just finished a book. I finished my audiobook, but I will update you guys tomorrow, and hopefully I will make a bit more progress on this. There was a point of view in this story that I'm really intrigued about as well that we're getting more of, but I'm really liking this book quite a bit, and I'm so happy that I picked it up. So I will talk to you guys tomorrow, and we will continue with this mini readathon. Bye, friends. Just checking back in. It is Sunday morning, so it is the 19th. Yesterday, I did wind up reading about 258 pages. Well, about 200 pages in Dark and Hollow Star. And I also finished Never Seduce a Scot by Maya Banks. That was my audiobook. And then I picked up Artemis Fowl, the Fowl Twins, today as my next audiobook because I'm on a blog tour at the end of the month and I need to read 3 books. So it's a little bit, that's became a little bit of a priority. But my goal for today is to make quite more progress. I have to get up to page like 500. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it today, but I'm definitely going to make it my goal. I'm also going to go to yoga today and just really sit outside and relax my voice because I talk a lot. In school, I just do. Just this nature of the beast of teaching 13 classes and having to talk. Hopefully as we get into the year, I'll talk a little bit less, but right now, it's a lot of me talking. So, I'm going to go read a little bit more of this, and before I head to yoga, I'll try to give you guys an update, and if not, I'll update you guys when I come back. Here, sorry for the sun, but it is such a beautiful day out, and that's where I'm going to be all day as long as I have a computer that is charged. But I did want to say that I did wind up listening to the first 27% of the Fowl Twins, which is a book I need to read for a blog tour, so I'm about 27% into that book. It's a very, very quick read, very, very fun. It is like a sequel series to the Artemis Fowl series that I read a couple of years ago. I've never read the last book, but I have to read this one now, but it's very, very fun. I'm probably going to listen to it on my commute tomorrow. I also did read the first 300 pages in A Dark and Hollow Star by Ashley Shuttleworth. I read 50 pages in the morning before I ran to yoga. I'm really liking this book. It's finally getting to the point where I've been waiting for all book, where all your different point of view characters are going to sort of meet and sort of exchange information about the murders that are happening in this world, which again is definitely a slow start read because there's so much information that has to be given by the narrator, or by, you know, a lot of world building has to happen. But I'm very excited to keep reading, so I'm going to read a little bit more, and then I will give you guys an update when I get up to page 350, and we'll give you guys a time check. I might go for a walk later, but I'm going to go read a little bit more, and when I reach that update, I will give you guys an update. Bye, friends. It's about 104. I did wind up getting up to page 360 in A Dark and Hollow Star. This is definitely a super descriptive novel, I will say that, and probably because it's a really, really rich world that Ashley, the author, has to sort of give you. It is a little bit of a slow to start. There is a lot of potential romances, but it's not like the forefront of the story, and I think that's just because like you really have to build the world. It's sort of like starting Lord of the Rings and not knowing anything about the world, and because so many fairy worlds are so different, I think Ashley really needs to build the world. But I am liking that the characters are all interacting. It's a very, very rich world, and it's probably right now like a 4-star read for me. Like, I'm liking it. I like all the characters, but it definitely is slow to start. And if you look for a heavy romance book like The Cruel Prince, you're not going to find that, especially in this book. I mean, at least almost 400 pages into it. So I think it's definitely like a basic start to the story. But there's also elements that I didn't expect. There's a murder mystery. There's also some elements, which I don't want to spoil, but there's a major plot point in the story that she kind of took and made her own. I really do like the characters, though. I think the characters are definitely a highlight for me, so I like learning about all the characters. And one of my favorite tropes in fantasy is when characters who don't necessarily like each other are kind of forced to work together. So it kind of reminds me of like Six of Crows, or another story that has like a ragtag bunch of misfits kind of forced to work together. These characters are a little bit on the older side. There definitely is language in here, which I always mention, but I really do like it. So I'm going to try to read another like 50 pages. When I get up to page 400, I'll give you guys a check-in, but right now it's like 1 o'clock. But so far, I'm really liking it. It's just definitely a slow to start story, definitely a basic story, like a starting novel where you get like a lot of information, and I feel like subsequent books with that built will be able to flesh out the world a little bit more. But definitely really liking it, and I'll give you guys another check-in when I read about 50 more pages. Also, YouTube Q check-in, which is always a massive attempt. I got it down to 60 videos, which is pretty good. So I'm going to go watch a few more, read about 50 more pages, and then I will give you guys a quick check-in. Bye, friends. It's about 2 o'clock, so I'm actually going to go for a bike ride when I'm done updating you guys. But I did end up getting up to page 400 in A Dark and Hollow Star. The middle of this book is dragging a little bit, but I think it's just because the world is so big, and I do like that the characters are finally forced to work together. It took a long time to get here, and I'm enjoying it a lot. Like, I think it's a really, really rich world. The characters are super fun. It's just a world that's sort of like the Mortal Instrument series. It's going to take a few books to sort of feel content in the world. And I think that that's sort of what she's doing, or like a big fantasy world, you have to sort of get there. But it's definitely not romance focused as of right now. But in the summaries, it does say that they're all queer teens. So that I think will kind of flesh out in future books. You definitely know that a couple of them are queer. I would say definitely the Prince and the Guardian are definitely queer. But I'm really, really liking it. So yeah, I'm going to go for a bike ride, listen to a little bit of my audiobook. It is getting a little bit chilly, so I think I might change before I go for my bike ride. But when I come back, I'll update you guys on this and also Artemis Fowl. Bye, friends. I want to do a quick update. I did wind up listening to a little bit more of Artemis Fowl, the Fowl Twins. I'm about 30% into that audiobook. It's just a very, very fun read. Those books are very, very science heavy, but like fun, and I just really like those stories. They're very, very kid focused. They're probably the only kid focused series that like have no adult interference that I really do like. They are definitely like not always realistic, but the science elements and how that could become part of like realistic elements, like how the focus on science and using technology is very, very fun to me. I also did get up to page 414 in A Dark and Hollow Star. I'm right at the tail end of the story, so I have about like 100 pages left. I really am liking it. It definitely was a slow start. I think it's definitely a foundational book in the series, and I think when I reread this at the end of the series, I think I will appreciate it a lot more because there's a lot of characters that you meet and then don't really know who they are. But it is a very, very fun read. I think there is a lot of queer characters in here that will be expanded on in the future. If I had to pick my favorite character, I would probably say Electo and Alistair, but they're all just super fun. Like, I really like all of them in different ways, and I like that they're kind of forced to work together. That's another part that I'm really enjoying. But I'm going to go read a little bit tomorrow I have to go back to work. I'm going to do a whole week of school. So I'm just trying to get myself prepared. I would like to finish this book tonight. So that's my plan. I'm going to go read, watch a few more YouTube videos, get that queue down, and I'll talk to you guys probably when I'm done with this book, because I feel like when I get up to 150, I'm not going to have a lot left. So I'll probably update you guys one more time before I'm done, but we'll see. I may just go through to the end. So we will see. I'll talk to you guys in a little bit for a couple more updates on the street. Bye, friends. End of my book. I have about less than 50 pages left. It is a very interesting story, and I'm still holding on to my 4-star review just because it was a very info dumpy at points, but that, again, is what happens in the first book in a series. I remember thinking Mortal Instruments series was super info dumpy, the first book. There is a little bit more romance as the story goes on. Also, there is one character that becomes incredibly important at the end, but it is a lot of information that is fleshed in the story. So it's very much a lot of info, and you have to pay really close attention to this book. But I really liked it, and I read it in about a weekend. I started it Friday. So definitely going to tackle the rest of it, and then I'm probably going to give myself a little bit of a reading break. I'm going to, get myself ready for the work week, which always takes me a couple hours. But yeah, I'm going to go finish the rest of this, and then we will check back in, and I will tell you guys my favorite character. I'm going to keep this reading vlog going because I'm not done with the magical readathon, which was my goal for this month, and my categories TBR sort of fell off the plane. So I got to figure out what I want to read. Maybe rework my TBR, honestly, because I can exchange 2 books. So I'm going to go see what I can swap out. But I will talk to you guys in a little bit. Bye. Lori here, I'm back. I did wind up finishing A Dark and Hollow Star by Ashley Shuttleworth. I think that this is definitely a good starter book in the series. I only wound up giving it 4 stars. It was very info dumpy, but that's because she's setting up a whole new world. Again, it reminds me sort of reading the first Mortal Instruments series because the world is super rich. And it was a little bit different because the characters know more than we, the audience, do. So, all of the characters know more than we do. So, you're always sort of playing catch up. And when it is info dumpy, just because we as the audience need a lot of information that the characters don't. So, that was a little bit info dumpy for me. And I'm hoping that as the series goes on, it will get a little bit less info dumpy and a little bit less confusing to the audience. But I did wind up giving it 4 stars, and it did work for my a couple of prompts for my Avengers reading board, but also for my magical readathon. So the last book I have to complete for the natural readathon is Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin. I'm really excited to start this one. It also has a lot of designs on it, which will be very, very pretty. I love books that have designs like this. So this is going to be the next book that I'm going to start. I'm going to start it tonight. But yeah, I've heard really good things about this one. I heard it has to do with climate change. I heard it has to do with witches. I heard a lot of people really enjoy it. So I'm probably going to start this one, try to read a little bit, and I might watch a little bit TV tonight. Last night, I did catch up on Turner and Hooch and the new Doogie Howser reboot, which, again, I really, really am liking. But my goal for tonight is to read a little bit of The Nature of Witches because I have fallen so far behind on my TBR game, and I really did a very, very bad job this month. But I hope to get back on track this week. So I'm going to go start Nature of Witches, and if I make a little bit of reading progress, I'll definitely update you. Talk to you guys in a little bit. Bye, friends. I just want to do a little bit of a quick update. I did wind up reading 33 pages of The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin. Right off the bat, I'm really fascinated by this book. I love witches. I always say that I like love books about witches, and I just never read them because I always want to read witch novels in the fall, and then I just run out of time. Like I can only read so many books in the month of October. Um, this book I've heard really good things about. So in this world, there is witches that are connected to the seasons. So every single season, there are season witches, and they're very, very specific to that season. Their power grows and falls, but they're only connected to that season. But your main character is Clara, and she is connected to all the seasons. But not only is her powers connected to all the seasons, her emotions are also tied to her seasons. She's very, very powerful. She's had a lot of tragedy in her life, due to how powerful she is. And it's put her in a very isolated situation. So she's every single season her relationship with the people around her changes, but they're also dealing with a lot of climate change issues or climate disturbances that wouldn't happen normally, but the shaders or the common people are making it very hard for them to do their jobs, and it's becoming much more dangerous. Um, and because of the tragedy in her life, she doesn't want to use her powers because she's afraid of losing control. There's also a lot of relationship drama. Like there's a lot of you see a lot of like possible relationship partners she's has, and she's pretty sure it's bisexual rep as well, which I really am intrigued by. But in addition to her powers, there's also the cutting off and how isolated she is, and that's really intriguing. So I read about 30 pages, and I'm intrigued. Like, I'm very intrigued. I love books that kind of take modern day issues and kind of work, like, give them like a magic twist. So I'm going to keep reading. I'll update you guys tomorrow. And hopefully I'll make a little bit more reading progress. But definitely right off the bat, I'm really, really liking it. So that's a good step in the right direction. But I'll talk to you guys tomorrow when I come home from work, and we'll touch base then. Bye, friends. Lori here. I'm back. I didn't wind up updating at all yesterday. I just got home ridiculously late. I had to run some errands after work that I just got a little bit distracted, and I didn't wind up updating. But in between when I started this book and now, I'm about 200 pages into The Nature of Witches. I'm really liking this book quite a bit. This character, Claire, has a lot of trauma that is sort of at the heart of this novel, but you basically follow her, and she's known as an Everwitch. I think I said this in a previous clip. She can kind of control all of the weather magic, so all the season magics. And they're dealing with a lot of climate change disasters, and a lot of pressure is being put on her to help with these climate change crises. But the thing about Claire is that her powers are connected to her emotions, so when she gets really close to someone, it leads to disaster and a lot of trauma and death in her wake. And she's very isolated, very, very cut off from herself. And her professors are putting her in very incredibly dangerous situations because they need her to be at her strength. There's a budding romance in this story that I'm really liking. I'm really liking her as a character. It's sometimes a little bit hard to be in her head because she is really going through a lot of grief and other stuff, but I think the magic system is really cool. I don't think I've ever really read a story like this before. But my goal is to read another 100 pages. That's my goal. I also made a little bit of listening progress on the Rachel Jeffs book, and a little bit of listening progress on Artemis Fowl. But my audiobook wasn't working today, so I had a little bit of struggle with that. Teaching's going well. Technology sometimes is the bane of our existence when you want technology. Like, if you would have asked me my first year of teaching, I would have said, oh my god, I love technology, it's great. But now that, like, we have to use technology and technology doesn't work, it could be a bit frustrating. But yeah, I literally just, like, I did my whole, how I like to do my evening routine. I'm really trying to get into a better evening routine because I'm not sleeping very, very well at all. Like, I keep waking up at like 3 a.m. and it's just like I'm not sleeping super well. So I'm hoping if I kind of like force myself into like an evening routine, I'll actually fall asleep a little bit easier. So I'm going to go read a little bit more of The Nature of Witches, probably put something on as background noise, and I'll talk to you guys when I read another like 50 pages and give you guys some more updates. Bye, friends. I just want to do a quick update. I did wind up reading another 50 pages in The Nature of Witches. I really am quite fond of the magic system in this book. The character's personality I sometimes struggle with a little bit, but you have to remember she is dealing with a lot. There has been a lot that has happened to this character in the past 2 to 3 years, so she is dealing with a lot of grief, um, a lot of guilt, I think. So I think it's coming across in all her, especially how she relates to people. But the highlight of this book is definitely the magic system and the way um the season magic works and how she's an Everwitch, so she can kind of connect all those systems. I'm really enjoying it. I'm also really liking the moments that they talk about, like just nature in general and climate, and how it's very, very pertinent to our real work, to like our real life. I think it's very, very pertinent. I think the romance in this book is definitely not what I was expecting, but I really am enjoying it. But yeah, I'm gonna read a little bit more, and when I get up to page 300, I'll probably give you guys an update and a time check. So I'll talk to you guys in a little bit. Bye, friends. I just want to say that I did wind up getting into the last section of this book. It's about 86 pages left. I am really intrigued to see how it ends. This book has been broken up into seasons, so we're about to head into summer, and all of the previous situations that have happened to this girl have happened in the summer, all the negative stuff. So I'm really curious to see how summer is going to play out. I'm just really loving the magic system in this book. I'm going to make it a goal to read a lot more witch novels in this fall and just the end of this year, because I have been craving them and I love witch novels and I just don't read enough of them. But yeah, my plan for tomorrow is to make some progress on my Artemis Fowl book as well, but definitely finish The Nature of Witches. Um, I'm going to pick out what book I want to bring with me to work. I think I'm going to bring my Black Panther one because it's a little bit on the shorter side and I have to read that for a blog tour. So I think I'm going to stick that book in my bag. But yeah, I will update you guys when I come home tomorrow. Hopefully no catastrophes happen and I'm not late. But yeah, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye, friends. Right here, I'm back. It is about 7 o'clock. I did wind up getting home from work. I did all my errandy stuff. But I didn't wind up just finishing The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin. I really like this book. I think it's definitely going to be like a 4.5-star read for me. I thought it was a nice introduction to fall read. I thought that it was very, very fall based, but it also had a very, very interesting magic system. There was a fun main character. It was structured in a very, very fun way, and I think it's probably the best structure of a story that I've read like this, because it's basically separated into seasons, and I thought that was really interesting. I think the main character was interesting. I've read some reviews that claim that she was boring and like whiny a lot of the time, and I didn't find that. I just found her grief to be very, very apparent in her. She had a lot of tragedy in her life, and I just think throughout the whole story she very, very much isolated herself, and it really was a very isolated story, and I normally don't love that in books, but I thought for this book, I thought it was handled really, really impactfully. I really liked it. I gave it 4.5 stars for review. I would definitely read more about this author in the future. I love the focus on climate change and how they address that, and I really liked it. I'm giving this one 4 stars, and I wound up also, the first book in this reading blog that I read was A Dark and Hollow Star, that I also gave 4 stars, so I actually had a pretty good reading week for the magical readathon hosted by Book Roast. So I'm going to go start my next reading vlog, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Let me know in the comments what are some books that you're currently reading, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye, friends.